Beep, beep, beep.
Woo! And we're back.
All right.
Back in oxygen.
Yeah.
Exhale, inhale. We always get nervous a little bit before these things.
Every time.
Every time.
But this is actually the first time we're doing one of these like this. So we're in our studio here in San Ramon. Typically, we're all just like in our homes, different parts of the country, just dialing in.
True.
So hopefully you guys like this format. Let us know what you think, and maybe we can get more approvals to do them this way. And
there were plane tickets involved in this.
Yeah, there were plane tickets.
And hotel stays.
Yeah.
We have this awesome studio, and we haven't been able to use it for over 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and doing webinars on your laptop is pretty fun too. But
totally
fun to be in the office.
Yeah, we've been able to kind of jive off each other a lot more, just kind of getting prepped for this than remote, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's kind of what this whole thing is about, right? How you can
say
make people feel like they're together in this remote world. Right?
Yeah.
So kicking us off with remote possibilities, training in a hybrid world. I'm Ryan Morris. I am a Litmus mentor over here, helping some of our enterprise customers onboard and implement the Litmus solution.
My name is Gabe Vasquez, and I do exactly what he does as well.
Except he's much smarter than I am.
Okay, well, fair enough. No, hardly.
And I'm Josh Barton. I'm an instructional designer, UX designer here. If you've taken any training in the Litmus Dojo, I've probably made it something to do with that along the way. So my job is just to train our customers. Our product's always evolving, enhancing every quarter. So with that said, we have to also train our customers on the new cool things that happen. So I do a little bit of that, and also UX design for the company.
And you also run the entire Litmus Dojo.
Yes.
So
this man is a wizard. This man is a literal wizard.
Thank you.
Yeah, plenty of firsthand LMS admin experience using our product. So.
I really being in the dojo and adminning it. We have over 50K people in there who are our customers, who are admins, are training their people. So just keeping an eye on that, and also being in the actual on the ground, like hearing issues like from students, learners of the dojo, has kind of given me that perspective too.
And experiencing those challenges and all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we know that the buzzword around training and work environments now is hybrid, and what is it and all that. So we're going to get into that. We're not going to keep this very much in the weeds on what hybrid work is. We're going to bring this to obviously the LMS and to learning and training. But before we get to that, just a little quick poll we've got together for you guys. Want to just see where you all are now. So if you're fully remote, if you're in a hybrid work environment, or if you're back fully on site again. So, take a second, fill that out. This is actually technically, for me, bringing it to an actual hybrid situation, because I've been fully remote since March 2020.
Yeah.
Well, so we were all fully remote.
Yeah.
We were all fully remote prior to that.
Yeah.
No, full time.
Full time. We were fully in the office full time.
Yeah. And then during the pandemic, we all transitioned over. So I'm full time remote as well, over in Phoenix, Arizona.
And again, I'm like 90% remote. I'm local to this office, and we have some people coming in on like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's good to get that FaceTime as much as I can. So I'll step away for a little bit and do some hours in the office. So I technically am that hybrid bucket, I would say.
So we'll choose that one then, if it'll let us.
I don't think it lets us.
It's not going to let us. We don't get to vote for ourselves.
Oh, yeah. You can.
Oh, okay, cool.
Let's just assume that it submitted that for us.
Yeah, and then let's just get to the poll results now. We can take a look at what everybody here said. Look at that.
Push.
Push.
Right.
Wow, look at that. Okay. So we've got a few folks that are back fully on site. Most of us are hybrid, with the runner-up being fully remote.
Yeah.
So I think what we should do now is talk about how people define hybrid work.
Right.
So there's a very academic way of describing it, which is when employees basically are splitting their time between being in the office and working from home. And typically what we've seen these days is that it's leadership or management deciding, okay, you're going to come into the office on these 2 days a week, and then you have the freedom to work from home these 3 days a week.
Sure.
So it's still a very top-down decision.
Absolutely.
That are coming from people. But we've got kind of our own definition of it based on our experience at our company and what works for us, which is that hybrid work is the freedom to work anywhere, anytime.
As long as you can do it, as long as your job doesn't require on-site configuration, obviously, right?
Obviously.
I can't do a plumbing job remote over a Zoom. Tell the homeowner, hey, you gotta just, attach the little connector and get the pipe dope. And just connect,
although during the pandemic, they were doing that. I saw
really?
There was haircutting classes. They would tell you how to cut like your spouse's hair.
Oh, don't sign me up. I wouldn't do that to Sierra. She would kill me.
But would she do it to you?
I don't know if I would let her. To be honest.
We won't tell her you said that.
That's when you bust out the flow beat, the old school flow beat, right, with the vacuum.
I was like in 7th grade.
So as we move through this webinar today, everything that we're talking about is coming from that position of giving your people the flexibility and the freedom to work where they want and when they want. So real quick before we get into some of those things, let's take a look at some of those numbers there. So this was a poll done by Gallup back about a month and a half ago in March, 140,000 U.S. employees. And 24, what they asked them was, what do you anticipate your work environment to be in 2022 and beyond? So 24% anticipated being fully remote, 53% being hybrid, and then 23% anticipated their leadership saying, you're going to come back and be fully on site. So actually lining up somewhat with our numbers from our own poll there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they turned around and they asked them, okay, what do you want? So what do you actually want? So that first slide was talking about what people anticipated, and then this slide is about what do people want. 32% want to stay exclusively fully remote. 59% prefer a hybrid work environment, and only 9% actually want to go back and be fully on site, where that's being mandated. You're going to come into the office 5 days a week. So what you really saw from that previous slide was more people who thought they were going to be asked or told to come back into the office full time prefer to be in one of the other two buckets. So another way of thinking about this is 91% of the people polled want to be at home completely or given the option when they come into the office, which I think is pretty telling. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm right in that middle with that hybrid bucket. And I do prefer it too, because there is that sense of, hey, I get to actually work with my colleagues and get this in-person thing that I just haven't had for the last 2 years. And I've only kind of recently become hybrid. So I've been fully remote because I moved far away, and now I've moved back to the office where I can be kind of hybrid. And it has made a difference. We've had conversations in person that, that might have not gotten done via Slack. So that is a good thing. I just want to think about, for everybody, how can we reach everybody with that same effectiveness, right? Where you're having those genuine conversations, whether or not you're remote, whether or not
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Working remote, you do kind of lack that chemistry, and you can always call your coworkers on Slack or whatever software it is and try to have that conversation, but it's not as organic, as being in the office with them.
Yeah, like coming in today and yesterday, it was almost like that first day of school. Assignment. You remember that? You got your backpack on and you're so excited to see all of your friends. I mean, I haven't put product in my hair for 3 days straight since 2019. So it's just been a lot. It's been a lot of fun. We're having a good time. But from just the numbers there are good to look at, but it doesn't really define how leadership and how people are feeling about this environment that we're living in now. So what that study found was that leaders and managers, they prefer the hybrid work model because they want to give that freedom to their people. And they have hesitations about being fully remote. That's the biggest problem, because they want to honor what workers and employees have basically proven, that we can all be productive if we're working fully from home. But the problem is, how do you sustain the team performance and how do you maintain the company culture if everyone is fully remote?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I mean, everybody's silos, right? When you start working from home, you kind of have to effortlessly Slack somebody or reach out, and then it kind of turns into just, I'm only reaching out to you when I need something or when I need.
And I don't have to answer you. I don't have to answer you.
You don't.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we've probably all been there.
Yeah.
Now I've answered you every time you Slack.
Okay. You know, you get around to it.
Yeah, but no, that's the biggest problem, at least that I still continue to have, being fully remote. Is feeling like I'm in a vacuum, feeling like I'm in a silo. Absolutely. I mean, just like this morning, I was able to turn around and like talk to another colleague about
from our support team
about like a random question, you know, and we were just like able to spitball back and forth, like, oh, that would be a good solution. Like, when's the last time that we got to do that? So I think that for leaders and for us as training leaders, we have to constantly think about, okay, how can we drive engagements like that, or how can we help create those organic moments for people? And we'll get there, but that's where I want us to kind of be thinking is how can we use learning as a way to facilitate some of those conversations for team performance or culture, but ultimately to make sure people are getting what they need.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So that's great for
the leaders,
our leaders,
right?
But what about employees? So what that study found is that employees want what we know we all want anyway. Like, we all know this intuitively. We want the flexibility to work where, when, and how best suits us.
As long as there's internet connection, you can work there.
Exactly. And then another question in that study talked about, you know, if you were forced to go back to the office, so if you were not already fully remote or fully on site, if you were hybrid or remote and your employer said, okay, 5 days a week, we're back, what would they do? 54% of remote employees and 38% of hybrid workers said they would start looking for other employment that provided that flexibility. So we have to keep that in mind as well as we're going through some of these things, which brings us to ultimately
the problem,
what we believe the problem to be. So how do you maintain the culture and the chemistry when people can work anywhere, anytime?
And we can even take an example from Andrea, one of our former colleagues who's with a new company. She started her job and she was given, you know, her Slack account, her computer, and she's 100% remote. But starting a fresh new job with very little orientation, she has no idea who on this massive list of 1,000 names to Slack for any questions about anything. So even just from not only that chemistry, but even from a new hire perspective, we also have to think about that. There's a little missing bit there too.
Yeah. So I think there are really like three main buckets to think about when it comes to training. It's onboarding, it's compliance, and then it's development. It's learning. I think those are the three main buckets that we're all most concerned with. I know with our customers, those are the three main buckets they're always concerned with. So I think it helps to kind of use those three buckets to kind of frame these, you know, conversations that we start having with ourselves and with our team when we're trying to come up with solutions here, which, by the way, what is the solution?
What is the solution?
Learning! Caveat, asterisk here. Now, we don't claim that learning is the solution, the be-all, end-all for everything that comes up within organizations, or necessarily for every problem that might arise from trying to adapt to hybrid or remote or whatever the case may be. working environments. However, this can play a pivotal role in driving what you need, those outcomes that you're looking for in your employees. So, of course, we're learning professionals. We think that, that learning is great.
Yeah, and everybody, you know, for the most part, who's joining this webinar today is also within the learning realm. So, you know, this can definitely contribute to the problem or contribute to the solution of the problem.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So,
we have tools at our disposal to address this.
Yeah.
We can't fix it all, but we have some tools to help a little bit, or more than a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to get into some of those. So if we want to go to the next slide, we certainly can, because that's going to be it for our slides today. No more death by PowerPoint. Now we just want this to really be an open-ended conversation. So we hope that one of the things this might do is help drive some conversations you might have with people internally, as well as with us. So we've got some ideas. We hope that you'll put some of your ideas in the chat too. By the way, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to put them in there. We're all here with one computer, so if we can't get to your questions live, we'll certainly get back to you via email.
We can definitely send out copies of the slides.
Yeah.
People were asking, I think somebody was asking about the, Nancy was asking about the numbers for the Gallup poll, from where they started. So I'm sure you can get that.
Yeah, I've got that source cited. It's from Gallup's website. From that.
And then Dale's mentioning that, you know, that their company has staff who don't use computers, so hybrid just doesn't really work for us, and in person still needs to happen, which is totally, if you have to do things in person, or if the workforce isn't on computers, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
If they are in your LMS, though, you have a way to reach them, which is, you know, what we'll be talking about here on this slide.
Yeah. So a couple of, I found a quote that I thought was interesting. The quote goes, it's all about hybrid work. It says, the value delivered from hybrid learning is achieved when individuals can demonstrate they have the knowledge or skills required to achieve the desired business outcome. Now, that just sounds like a whole lot of someone bloviating, if I'm being perfectly honest. Because isn't that the goal of all learning, whether it's hybrid or not? So what are some ways that y'all think we can use the tools at our disposal to drive those business outcomes through training when people aren't necessarily coming into
the office?
Yeah.
I have an idea. Okay. How about put your organization, put your own soul into your training? It can be like on many different levels, from just branding your instance to feel like your company, or if you want to break it out to, you know, specific teams, and you have the team manager record a welcome message to his team or her team and have everybody come and see that while they're taking their training. At least they'll see something from their team manager, or maybe have a picture of their team back in the old days, or maybe from a company outing where we actually did meet up. We did our little go-kart race, and that would be in the LMS. So something to like bring you and your
not just generic training, you know, really customizing it with pictures of the office and your coworkers and old lunches, and kind of reminding the learner that this really is my organization teaching me this information.
And think about onboarding, like, hey, you're onboarding to the company, but you're also onboarding to like your group of people, because everybody has their group of people that they work with, whether it's like your 10. So I have like my 15 that I like always work with, and there's probably like 75 other people that I work with sparingly, but I need my 15 that I'm constantly working with. So that's my team. If you can somehow connect with them on a leaderboard, engage with them in the same training, or do an orientation that they've done that's customized to that team, I think there's value in that, and just making you feel like you're a part of something rather than just the whole generic organization. Have kind of a customized
targeted
experience,
approach.
Targeted approach, right?
So my question is, if we're talking about a hybrid workplace, so there is an expectation there of people, at least from time to time, coming into an office. Maybe not on a set schedule, but from time to time.
Yeah.
how do we go about developing training, or what are some strategies we could think about where maybe 2 or 3 times a month I go into the office, but the rest of the time I'm working at home.
Right.
So what are some things we could think about, or some ideas we could throw around about how do we train people for that eventuality, which seems to be what we're moving toward if we're not already fully in.
That's kind of how it's been for me.
So what have your experiences been like?
I think that with these in-person collaborations, it's great, right? You get that feel, but you also...
Do you think it's necessary?
I think it's not 100% necessary for that in-person collaboration. You can do it virtually. You can get that call on a Zoom call, but it has to be built. And I think that the in-persons make it much easier.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. It's just, there's no barrier. There's no screen. You can read my body language and smell me, you know, everything about it, you know.
Trust me, we can smell you. So it sounds like really what we're trying to replicate are organic interactions that people have.
Yeah.
And it's nearly impossible to do that. That's why, and forgive me, but that's why these like Zoom happy hours are a waste of time. They are. And the reason is not because they're not fun, or not because like you can't have a glass of something bubbly, you know, with everybody else on a Zoom call. But when you are at a happy hour with other people, you are able to go off of people's body language.
Yeah.
You are able to go off of people's reactions to the things you're saying. And then people can pick up where you drop off, you know? So you keep the conversation going. You lose all of that
when you have 24 faces on a...
Yes. Who do you focus on? Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
So I think that learning has to move to a place, and this is what I drive, the point I try to drive home with all of my customers, is we have to stop thinking of what we do as training only. We have to start driving a culture of learning with our people.
Agreed.
That must be what differentiates us from everyone else out there. Because if everyone else is suddenly able to work wherever they want to work, do what they want to do as long as they get it done, then what can be something that differentiates us from everybody else in the pack? What can be the learning that we provide?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I think we separate out the types of learning that we have, the onboarding, the compliance, and then the learning itself. But we have to stop calling training.
Yeah.
We should start calling it learning, because I think that encourages people to want to get in, to see what's going on. Because when you think, if I say, Gabe, I've got a new training for you, what's your reaction? What's your immediate?
I think training makes me want to sweat, you know? That's a lot of hard work. You know?
I just want to know when it's due.
When I have to get it done.
That's fair.
But how far you can push it off until.
Exactly. But if I say like, hey, Josh, I've got a learning activity for us, does that change?
I might be more open to learning.
Well, because I think, I think learning is a bonding experience.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going through that same experience together, and everyone perceives it differently. And I think some of the, if you're just doing compliance training within your LMS, then everyone's going to associate it with just, a boring experience. But I think in regards to bringing all of your employees together and kind of bonding and kind of recreating that chemistry that they get in the office, you can do types of training where people are learning together. So, for example, maybe you're doing a public speaking type of training.
Yeah.
Everybody can, professional development. Everybody, I don't think anybody really likes public speaking, but if you give that,
Brian's like, yes.
I don't.
I'll speak into the camera.
If you give them, if everybody has to do this series of Zoom calls with colleagues in different departments within your organization that you don't really know very well, but you all have to go through this exercise of giving personal speeches about a passion of yours, then then you not only are you learning about your colleagues in different departments, but you're also all going through this experience together, which some might find humiliating, but some might find empowering. Because giving speeches is super,
It's hard.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's hard.
So not, like I said, not only are you bonding and you're learning about different departments, now I know that Sally Sue in HR is really into making turmeric tea, so now I can Slack Sally and be like, hey girl, like, what's the recipe for that tea?
Yeah, give me the tea. Turmeric tea.
Exactly, or the golden tea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just feel, especially if you're starting a new job or you're just trying to really create chemistry, it's easy to get very siloed in your job when you're working remote, and kind of those relationships start to drop off.
Even when you're working hybrid, if you're coming into the office, it's some like random schedule or random interval, and everybody else is coming in at random intervals. I mean, like Monday, we were the only ones here.
Yeah.
Tuesday, a couple of friends were here, and then today again, it's a couple of other friends are here.
Yep.
So it's like driving these organic interactions with people with learning, and a great way to do that is that's a great onboarding example. Another great thing to use, how you can use Litmos to inform what this learning might look like, is actually asking your people what they want to learn about.
Yeah.
All you got to do is send out a survey and say...
Survey module.
Yeah, survey module. And you can send it out anonymously if you want to, and just say, like, of these 5 subjects, what would you like to learn about? And if there's a subject on here, or if there's something else that you'd like to learn about, other, please specify. It's that simple. And then you've got something to go on. Then you've actually got some data to say, okay, I've got 50 people that would like to learn more about gardening
or talking, public speaking.
I'm taking this completely away
you know,
from the idea of like
art.
Office skills.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I like
because
that. I like that.
learning doesn't just have to be about like public speaking or like Excel.
And it's an opportunity to engage, you know, once again, and everybody
and
who's
creating
attending.
organic moments.
Exactly,
For people.
exactly.
I think that's what we have to get. What we have to start driving. Is because that's how people start to feel in tune with your organization. That's how you start to really feel a part of it. Because we want our people to feel part of this organization so that they don't leave. Like that's the whole idea here. We're trying to drive retention.
Yeah, exactly. And then you become more passionate, and then you start to become.
You enjoy your work.
Yeah, exactly.
You're being differentiated. Your organization is differentiated from the other one because you know what? You can go over there, but are you going to have like a 6-week gardening series with Ryan? If you can't tell, I like gardening. Are you going to get that over there? And so even like when you're talking about, like I can create a course in Litmos about, how I choose, seeds and how I plant by the moon, and then when to put the seeds in the dirt in the windowsill and let them sprout. And then when I take them to my raised garden bed, and how I get compost. I can do all that, but I can drive a better experience for people in a hybrid world if I engage with them through things like Zoom calls. We can all get on a Zoom. I can share my screen and I can, with my phone, and I can walk around and I can say, this is what I do when I garden. And this is what you can do too. It's so easy to do this, this, and this. And I guarantee you, no one's going to be able to replicate that at another organization. So I think that it's about starting with what people want to learn outside of onboarding, outside of compliance, and going from there, because you can use these tools, and these are easy ones. These are quick wins to create a learning culture of learning at your own organization.
And it's also kind of on that note too. I think pre-pandemic, everybody was really getting into SCORM and interactive training and clicking different items and finding hidden things on the screen and just kind of going through all these modules because that was really interactive.
But all on the screen. All on the
screen. That was built for desktop doing training in the office.
Yeah.
And I think now what I've noticed is that the training kind of dynamic is shifting once again, that format. and people want to be able to do training while they're folding their laundry, so now it's, now podcast is super appealing, because now I can just listen to a lecture, versus having to click around, and you have to kind of specify time. So I think now, that format of training, that accessibility is kind of changing once again. And SCORM is always going to be great. That's always going to be super interactive. But now maybe you want to offer, different formats or different training.
A different flavor.
Yeah. Maybe you're dropping your kids off, at school or something, and you want to listen to a lecture while you're driving.
Totally.
So I think, the format and the way you're presenting your training is also kind of changing as well.
And we've been saying this the last 2 years, but just tightening up your content to shorter, more consumable pieces is always helpful, especially if you're trying to get that 10-minute treadmill run in while listening to a course, or maybe pushing through and reading.
I did that last week.
Yeah,
I literally did that last week because they kept emailing me about a thing that was overdue. And I was like, fine, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it while I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm mad enough that I have to do this. I might as well do it while I'm running.
Next. And then also too, like you brought up, training about other things and personal development, training. And, maybe you're only building training for your LMS or for your organization. Litmus offers integrations with lynda.com and linkedin.com.
Yep.
And even we also have our own content library with personal development training as well.
Yep.
So, if you don't know where to even get that, you can just go ahead and, there's resources where that content is already available.
That brings me to this question right here from Elizabeth. She says, you're touching on this right now. I think one of the biggest challenges we've had is when people have technical issues and just don't want to say anything. Understandable. And they fall behind. We don't know it. Whereas before we could, just by walking around, just looking at people's screens.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on how that could be better managed?
Oh, I do.
Great.
I do. So we've been tossing the idea of office hours around with our team for the longest time, and we've just been trying to find the right platform to do it in. But Elizabeth, I think that would be something to consider. Office hours, just like maybe your teacher or professor from high school or college had, where you could go in at this designated time once a week and talk with the person who the professor, or talk with the L&D person, the training person, the IT person.
And if it's a virtual office.
Virtual office hours.
Yeah,
so
you're just available during that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that way they don't have to schedule time, because nobody wants to put something else on their calendars. I get it. But they know that this time slot is always available. If you have a problem with something, you can meet me here. And hey, I might not be able to solve it for you, but I know, Nikki over in IT, and she can solve it for you.
Yeah.
Or Josh over in administration. That'd be a great person to connect with. So it's about using learning again as a way to break down those silos so that people feel part of the bigger picture.
Using Litmus, you can get that info in there somehow, whether it's in a course, whether it's in the the banner, or your little pop-up welcome message when you load into the Litmus.
Like advertising the office.
If you have any questions, here's the office.
Have it scrolling across the banner.
I think for this specific one as well, there's some pretty creative reports that you can begin to pull also. You can pull date started, status, are they in progress? If they started that and they're still in progress 2 weeks ago, then, maybe you want to, if you want to check in.
Somebody's whispering for Bella.
I was getting there. So
got somebody in the back.
I think it comes up. It brings us really to where we were kind of moving around anyway, which is this idea of augmented or virtual reality,
right?
Which is full disclosure, this is something that we've been playing around with and trying to incorporate. So who knows, maybe you all will join us in the Metaverse, sometime this year for another one of these. But it's the idea of creating a space that is accessible through the browser. And by the way, I'm not talking about like the company Meta or like that idea of the metaverse. I'm talking about something very,
going into a
business-oriented, office-oriented, that idea. But the ability for people to go into a space easily, and interact with other avatars, again, easily, in real time. And you feel immersed in an environment as opposed to looking at a page of people's pictures, people's cameras. You're able to see people's screens if they choose to share those and see what they're going through real time. So I like that idea. Because it provides a different way to engage with people that people aren't used to yet, which I think is key.
Yeah.
They're not used to it yet, so it kind of interrupts what they expect.
We're going to be exploring something called Frame VR. If you want to Google it, we'll just be open with you, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
That's probably what you'll see us on eventually in the future. Also, in addition to these webinars, but there are lots of platforms now. This whole metaverse thing is exploding. I just hear it every day, and I'm sick of the word metaverse. But it is. It's really there's a lot of companies that are trying to see what they can do and live in the metaverse. So there's a lot of providers that will give you places where you can build your own room, your own virtual office. The one that we use it's pretty cool because you kind of click and it's like instantly there. You don't have to download or anything like that.
So there's lots of different, I guess, approaches or pathways we can go in. But yeah, I mean, that virtual experience also, that does require you to sit down in front of your desktop, but you're also interacting and walking around and talking to strangers, that you may not really have the confidence to talk to in person, but they're an avatar and you can say, hey, where are you from? What do you do?
And so you might be asking yourself out there, but Gabe, how can I track that in the LMS? Because I want to give people credit when they do training in the metaverse. Well, there is the Learning Record Store that uses the XAPI. And if whatever product you're using has an XAPI, then you can send that information, those activities, those interactions, whatever the experience that the person's having over in that augmented reality platform where they're seeing how the cog fits into the wheel, into the machine, and they're lining all that up and they're demonstrating that they know how to do that. You can still send that information to Litmos and have it tracked all in one place. So it's a way to start tying systems together so that all of your source of truth for learning is still the LMS, even if people have to go outside of it to get a different experience.
Totally. And you don't have to necessarily even use the APIs to connect this together, too, because a lot of these virtual worlds will allow you to open a browser in that virtual world. So as long as you're logged into Litmus in that virtual browser, you're in Litmus. So any completion, maybe if they go into like a 3D room where they have to do a bunch of stuff, and then they open the door and there's the Litmus course where they say, I've done it. And they can only get to that Litmus door by going through that door in the metaverse. And then that completion is added to their record. And they can download their special certificate and get their badge. They go up on the leaderboards, 300 points, whatever.
Yeah. So we've circled around these little tips that I have for us. Oh, do we have another question?
I can talk on that too.
Oh, yeah.
We've done a little. We've explored a little bit of like podcasting. Bianca asks, would love to talk about podcasts too, where to post, how long they should be. We went in prep for this. In prep for this webinar, we were talking podcasts are a great thing too, especially for like company culture to have like a monthly or maybe like a weekly little,
Weekly is hard.
Weekly is hard.
But we did interviews with people, and and within our organization, like our developers, our product managers, our support agents. And you just interviewed them and asked them what they do. And it was super cool to hear directly from them. And so it wasn't a required training,
No.
but it helped me understand what other people are doing in our organization.
Totally. And once you got one, it's just there. And then even if those people move on, you can kind of understand what those people on that team or in that type of role will do. Because, you know, the Litmus app itself is super complicated on the back end. And it's now we have a little bit of context behind, you know, what makes the sausage, or whatever that saying is. How the sausage is made.
How the sausage is made.
Yeah. What makes the sausage?
So I think that from when you're, so Bianca, when you're thinking about if you want to do podcasts, for better or for worse, we live in this age where people want information, they want it fast, and they don't want to spend a lot of time receiving the information. So 10 minutes or less is just a good rule of thumb. Start with things that you can repurpose in other ways. So interviews with company leaders that can be used as part of an onboarding course is a great way to start. Interviews with people that folks in certain parts of the organization might never meet otherwise is another way to help people feel comfortable, because then, you know, I can say, you know, Josh, I can Slack Josh and say, hey, you know, we haven't met, but I did this the other day with actually one of the technical webinars. I was like, hey, I just want to let you know that, like, I really loved the presentation that you, and the demonstration that you gave. You made everything really simple to understand, and I just wanted to say thank you. Complete stranger, someone that I never met before, but then we had that connection. We had that thing that caused us to now have a reason to talk. Because that's why people are so awkward, because we don't have anything to talk about. So we can use learning to start driving the conversation starters with people.
And you can just load all that. That's all content in the end, you know, and you can just load all that content into the LMS and just, you know, put it in your content library. And while you're in there taking required training, maybe you want to explore, you know, what other people in your organization are doing. And you can just have that all, you know, self-sign up, self-registration, and just let people go in there and explore. The LMS is a tool to offer and advertise all of that content, and everybody in your organization has access to it. You know, so.
And what I tell people all the time, because we understand that a lot of this is like pie in the sky, idealistic, like just go out there and create this awesome content, and it's hard. It's hard. It takes time. It takes investment. It's worth it. And you don't have, this is what I tell our customers all the time is two things that you'll always hear me say if you're ever on a call with me. Don't get lost in the sauce, and don't be paralyzed by perfection. For whatever reason, we think that we've got to be perfect in everything that we do, and we don't. We are more forgiving of mistakes or things that might not exactly land than you would think. I mean, like, only like 3 of my jokes have landed this whole time. So my point is that you'll never know if you don't try. So take something, take a risk, just take a subject matter that you're comfortable with and that you like teaching about, because that's the key. If you're teaching or educating people about something that you enjoy, that comes across in the training that you create. So don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone.
Do a trial course, do a trial, you know, month-long training experience, and just kind of see how it goes. We've done a few of those. Mike Martin has done a few of those
internal
academies where we all have to go into breakout rooms and connect with coworkers that I've never really spoken to. And
it was awkward at first. So I was like,
very awkward.
But
you're not on my team.
But after a few minutes, you're like, okay, we're all normal people.
And we are all equally as awkward. Like, can we just give ourselves permission to be awkward? Like, we are all awkward.
Yeah, for sure.
So a couple of just like final tips here, just to break, because we've talked about all 3 of these things, and I just want to put them like in one little concise place here. So when you're thinking about restructuring or reimagining some of your training for whatever hybrid means to you or whatever hybrid means to your organization, tip number 1, focus on specific groups of users. And in Litmos, we call those teams. So if you've got a really awesome team structure, then that's your starting place. Look at the groups of people, the teams that you've created, and start with creating training that's specific for them. Tip number 2, enlist learning champions in those teams.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. And Mike is huge about it because we cannot be the ones, L&D, training, HR cannot be the people that drive the culture of learning at our organization. Now, we can kickstart it. We can try and get people jived and amped about it. We can create awesome content or use a third party and their awesome content. We can have all the tools at our disposal going. But it's up to individual managers. Yep. It's the people on the front lines. It's up to them to really help us engage with our organization at large and drive that culture, help us drive that culture of learning.
Yeah, and I think culture is the key word right there. It's not just from the top down. Now you're involving everybody.
No. And it really can't be, because think about it. Like, think about your own culture. Like, is the CEO or the CFO or the CHRO, are they driving the culture at your organization? Now, they might have a hand in it, but it's really the managers and the supervisors and the people in the trenches that are driving whatever the company culture is. So get them on your side and enlist them to help you with this. And then final tip number 3, is you're building content, always look at it through the eyes of a beginner.
I like that.
Too many times when we're creating, because I've fallen into this trap before. Yeah, I create content as if the person who's going to consume it already knows
the basics,
what it's about.
Or even what it is.
I mean, it's really your communications 101 class. If you ever took one of those, like in high school or college or whatever, where your professor, your teacher had you write out instructions. The one that we had to do was, you have to tell me step by step how to take my raincoat out of the closet and put it on to go to my mailbox in the room. So that was the gist. You have to tell me step by step. And this was in high school, and my English teacher, for like 2 days straight, she read through everyone's step-by-step instructions and did exactly what they said to do. And you'd be amazed at how ineffective we are at communicating ideas, communicating instructions. So always look at the training you're building as if you're going to give it to someone who's never seen it before and has no idea what you're talking about. So
solid.
Those are my tips. That's all I got. I got a couple of tips and a couple of jokes.
Let's do the poll.
From the eyes, and Jason Went says, from the eyes of the beginner. Yeah, from the eyes of the beginner.
From the eyes of the beginner.
Fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And then there was one from Conrad. I know the answer to this. Any way to integrate Litmus with SharePoint? We do have a module that is just linked to a website module. So if you're talking about using SharePoint within a course, you can use that website module and then just use your SharePoint link. And as long as the people who are taking that course have access to that SharePoint, should not throw them an error. Let's just say that.
Also, make sure there's a little setting there, Conrad, behind the scenes. So in the module settings, to open the link in a new tab. If it does throw the error, try that one instead. Give it a shot. Let us know. We're happy to help troubleshoot that with you too. So just a little fun poll here at the very end. Something to get us all ready for our Wednesdays here. Last little poll.
That's right. Well, I can't read the text, but I remember what it said.
Go ahead.
If you were forced to go back into the office full-time, 100% remote, or run away and join the circus, what would you do?
So if you were...
Or would you?
Yes.
Would you
or no? rather run away and join the circus if you were forced to go back into the office full-time?
That's the question.
Now I'm live, and this is being recorded, so I better not answer this one. No, I will not run away and join the circus.
Sometimes my house, I got 2 little ones, so sometimes my house is kind of like a circus, though, too. So
yeah,
a lot of people will say, my place is the circus.
Wow. Can we just flip over to the results real quick?
Yeah, let's push.
Everybody's all right. We're carnies now, y'all.
But you know what? 39% of you are still too good for the carny life.
I always wanted to be one of the trapeze people. You know, like swinging on the trapeze. I always thought that would have been the most fun.
Only with the net. Only with the net.
I'm more of like a lion in a cage sort of act, you know. But
oh, man,
that's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. So, again, thanks everybody so much for hanging out with us today. We hope that you got some fun ideas. Ultimately, we just hope you had a good time. Mm-hmm. We're always here to help talk through any of these strategies with you, help you in any way with your Litmus LMS. So don't be strangers. If there is any question that we've missed, we'll be certain to get back to you via email with those. Yes. And just be looking for our next one with maybe some instructions, because we might be in the metaverse.
Yeah,
next time.
Maybe. We might be. We might be in 3D.
It'll be super simple.
We're trying to
really
do things
easy.
out too. You know, we're all trying to adjust and figure it out. So yeah, maybe we will be.
Yeah.
All you have to do is click a button to get in there. That's the point. But
yeah.
We'll be there.
We'll send you a link.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesdays, and we will talk again soon.